There we go. That works.
All right.
So you're recording. I'm recording. We're going pretty good there.
Nice,
buddy. We're finally doing this.
All right. Awesome, man. Well,
we finally made it happen after how many years of talking about it?
Yeah. Seriously, it's been a long time, and I guess we'll start by filling you in on what we were talking about. So Zach and I have been great friends for years now, since 2010. Yeah, seems like. And we always inevitably, whenever we get together and talk and go down like crazy rabbit holes of conversation, inevitably at some point in the conversation we're like, fuck, we should have been recording this.
Yeah.
So we're like, you know what? We got an awesome place to shoot it. Got a 360-degree camera.
Yep.
And let's just give it a shot and, see what happens.
Starting a little bit later than we planned on.
But, you missed the beautiful Newport Beach sunset. But
glad that finally went off.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's just like every single time we were about to get started, something came up.
Yeah.
And, that's the way it should be the first time, right?
Mm-hmm.
It should be a little awkward. Should be a little, distracted. But, I think that after getting used to this, we should be, still recording. Should, have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
So, welcome to the podcast, everybody, in the future, because obviously we're live streaming to the future.
Exactly. We don't even have a name for this podcast yet.
Yeah.
This is just an idea. We're like, all right, let's just do it. Nothing else is going to stand in our way. We're going to make this fucking happen.
What kind of came to my mind, though, when you started talking about how we should have, we should have been recording this thing, at the end, it'd be like, you call it like the Lost Topics podcast or Lost Conversations podcast or something.
Oh, all right.
Or maybe I was thinking when I was walking Toby earlier, I was thinking we could call it a podcast with no name.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll figure out something good. But for now, it is actually the podcast with no name.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what we're starting with.
Yeah.
The other thing too, I was thinking if we're gonna end up going down into the cabin later, because we're on my boat right now. If you couldn't tell, we're Newport Harbor, and boat parade will be coming by here pretty soon, as it does. It's a 110th anniversary.
No way.
This year is the 110th anniversary of the boat parade.
Oh, crazy. I didn't know it was going on so long.
Yeah, neither did I, actually. I didn't even think they could put lights on boats back then.
Back then they were all, flames and candles.
Seriously.
I'm sure there was inevitably one boat that went down because they were drinking too much and caught it on fire.
Every year. Yeah, those kerosene lanterns. But, so that should be coming by pretty soon. But if we do need to move into the cabin for lighting reasons or for noise reasons for those, other boats or whatever, I was thinking that, we would have you on one side of the table, me on the other side, and then Toby sitting there on his bed. And we call it Two Guys and a Dog or something.
Yeah. We'll have a new name every single time. On where we're
That's
at
not a bad idea. We're going to have one podcast for every single channel that we come up with, and it would be different names for every podcast.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's going to have a hard time catching on.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Whatever. But, all right, so it's almost Christmas.
Yep.
It's Christmas on Tuesday. We're recording this on
Saturday.
I almost thought it was Friday.
It feels like it.
And so if you hear people putting Christmas music on in the background, that explains why, because everybody's starting to get their drink on and put their Christmas music on and wait for the boat parade to come by. So it's going to be a few distractions, but I'm sure this is still going to be fun.
Yeah, it got pretty wild last night, I'll say that for
sure. Did it really?
Yeah, and with the boats coming by at the end of the boat parade here, the boat really starts rocking a lot. I've had to
see the boat rocking, and it's just rocking like all the other boats in the harbor.
Dude, I've had to go in there and hold the dollhouse to the table so it doesn't slip off and just totally ruin all the work that I've been doing.
Yeah, now the people watching are like, why the fuck does he have a dollhouse?
Yeah, that's true.
We'll leave that a mystery.
It's my dollhouse, man.
Even grown men are into dollhouses.
Yeah.
What is this, 2018? You're allowed to be into dollhouses.
Really, think about it. I was the contractor for this dollhouse, I didn't come up with a design, the blueprints, but I did have to...
It's a prefab.
Exactly, so I had to put it all together and shingle everything. I feel like
it
a
does look
construction
amazing,
man.
I have to
Thank
say.
you. Thank you. Audrey picked out the colors for it.
Yeah.
But you should see the inside, man.
All right, you can give me a tour of your dollhouse later on.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So I figured,
items on the agenda?
Yeah, let's start off by having a drink.
Sounds good.
And
what do we got?
Well, I'm sure you can.
Oh, and we should probably preface this with the fact that I haven't had a beer in like 2 years. I've been on keto for a while, and even before that I was low carb and no gluten or anything like that. But I don't know. I just can't say no to you sometimes,
especially when you're drinking
occasion.
one of my beers.
That I'm willing to make an exception for. In fact, the last time I had a sip of beer was one of your beers at BJ's.
Yeah.
Yep. Because Nima got one, and I was like, I'll have a sip. I have to have a sip.
Yeah.
So I did.
Nice.
It has been a little bit less than 2 years.
Now you're going to have one straight out of the bottle.
Yes.
That is a English-style double IPA from New Agris Beer Company.
Nice.
And,
I'm glad it's a IPA, not a Flemish red. I mean, they're not bad, but I don't do well with them, I don't think, as much. But maybe we should turn this light on. Like, I wonder how much...
Yeah, let's see if we can get a little more light in here.
This might end up being an audio-only podcast.
Oh, it is bright.
Yeah, it is. Should get my orange gel and make us a little bit warmer.
Yeah. I have a feeling we're going to look like we're sitting around a campfire telling scary stories.
Maybe that's what should be the Campfire Podcast.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have so many different names for the podcast by the time we're done.
It reminds me of, did you ever listen to the Joe Rogan podcast when he would have Duncan Trussell and Dr. Chris, I can't think of his name now, Chris, I'll think about it in a second, but they called it the Shrimp Parade.
I think I have heard that.
Yeah, I don't know where they came up with that name, but I just thought it was the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I was like, yeah, podcast names, like there's something to it. You gotta
science of podcast names.
Yeah, exactly. But once you pick it, you gotta kind of stick with it too.
Yeah.
If something better comes along, you can't just call it the Bearded Podcast. The Bearded Podcast. Exactly.
All right. Well, I'll just keep writing these down. I'm sure we'll land on one of them.
We got a notebook, so let's start listing off all the potential ones.
All right. So let's get this.
I'm excited for this. It's definitely gonna, kick me out, but I will
kick you out of keto mode.
Yep, but I don't mind. I'll be back tomorrow morning.
All right.
It looks really nice.
Roughly even.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll take the lesser of two evils.
Cool. Yeah. Don't want you to get all bloated.
Actually, I don't know if it would bloat me at all, but I might actually get kind of hyper off of it.
Yeah. All the sugar that's going to go rushing into your system.
Hopefully my pancreas can still handle the insulin load necessary.
All right, we'll see.
Ooh, that's good. Mm-hmm. I like that, man. Another cheers.
Yeah.
Every sip.
So, why is it you got into keto in the first
so
place?
Long. Well, the main reason was because I heard it can be anti-inflammatory, and that's part of my daughter's condition. I'm sure you guys will hear plenty more about her as time goes on. I tend to talk about her a lot. But
so I'm just trying to adjust this. So
yeah, that might be better to reflect it off.
Exactly.
The hall there.
There we go.
Yeah, that's perfect because that was like
it was way too
much.
Okay.
So just to see if I basically started trying it because she did really well on paleo. She couldn't tolerate wheat and soy and rice later on, but so did really well on paleo, and thought that maybe keto would be the next step to really help get her into better health. And from the anti-inflammatory aspect, I think it still might work for her, but I don't know if it's going to be if the juice is worth the squeeze. And so it is a little bit hard to really. It's already been hard to restrict her diet in so many ways already as a child. So restricting it even more to mostly eating various amounts of or various types of fat and meat and veggies and not much fruit would be a little bit hard on her. But I wanted to see how well she might be able to do it. So started getting into it, and within just a few days, felt how great it felt. I'd already been, kind of testing out time-restricted eating or intermittent fasting, as some people call it, and felt how good that was from not having hunger pangs through the day, and not having crashes, and just having solid, straight up energy all day long. And keto seemed to be the next step of that, and I've been really enjoying it. I think that there's you have to fine tune it for yourself, because at first when I was getting into it, I wasn't actually exercising at that time, just because a lot of other things I let get in the way. But I was still kind of doing the keto thing. But I think I was maybe eating too much fat, and so I wasn't eating. I was eating too many calories, essentially. I don't think the whole calorie in, calorie out thing really works, but being able to eating too many, I think is still gonna, have a net positive. And so I felt like I wasn't I knew I was burning the fat, but I still felt like I was gaining some weight from not exercising and probably eating just too many calories altogether. So kind of cut back on the keto thing for a little bit, and now that I'm much more active and I have a little bit more of a understanding for it and know myself and how much I really need, it's been a huge improvement in my everyday life. So I haven't gotten a headache in a year, haven't gotten sick in a year. People around me are getting sick right now, and I felt a little bit of something between my throat and my nose, but went away, and didn't go fully blown anything. So
and I'll say, having known you for as long as I have, just looking at you, you actually look like you're more filled out, more muscular.
Oh, thanks.
And you just look healthier
than
you ever have.
Yeah, probably the quitting smoking 2 years ago helps with that too.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Right.
But that's all part of hitting my 30s and really wanting to start replacing my bad habits with good habits, to make sure that whatever length of life I do have is as functional as possible.
Right.
I think that's what we start doing in our 30s, more or less.
Yeah, that's when you start to see your age creep in, and you're not as invincible as you were in your 20s and prior.
Yeah.
So you're like, all right, maybe I better start adjusting things.
Yeah, those joints start aching a little bit. And
yeah, they do. So
you're like, what the fuck? How is it? Oh yeah, we're a non-censored podcast.
Oh
right?
yeah,
So
we can say whatever the fuck we want.
Nice.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, I've been kind of experimenting with my own diet over
I was going to ask you,
last,
because I know you've been kind of curious about it.
I have, yeah, and I haven't gone full keto yet. It's something I'm looking into, but I've been I went about 7 years of being highly lactose intolerant, which made me very conscious of everything that I eat, and then strangely that just disappeared, which I kind of half-jokingly equate to the fact that your body regenerates every cell in your body every 7 years. So I'm like, oh, the new me isn't lactose intolerant anymore. The old me was.
Yeah.
But that kind of set in motion this idea of you really should pay attention to what you eat. And I'd say probably the most unhealthy thing that I eat or consume is beer. Yeah. And that's just something I have a really hard time cutting out of my diet because I love it so much. But other than beer, I have a very low carb diet. And I've been experimenting too with, much to my girlfriend's chagrin, because she is a vegan. Yeah. I've been experimenting with upping my animal product intake.
Sure.
So pretty much have begun to start every single morning with this amazing quiche that I make. That's
I can't wait to try this thing.
Yeah, it's so good. It's just eggs, cheese, bacon, and sour cream, all mixed together with green chilies, and then I line the pan with bacon grease.
Oh yeah,
and it is so good. One of those lasts me all week, and I find that when I start my day high fat, high protein, I have consistent energy throughout the day.
Yeah.
If I start my day with a bowl of cereal or a Danish or something like that, I am guaranteed to crash early afternoon.
Oh, for sure.
It's 2 o'clock rolls around and I need to have some shut-eye for 20 minutes.
That was the whole marketing behind the 5-hour energy shot, You ever had that 2:30 feeling? You know, yeah, that crash.
Yeah. Don't change your diet. Just drink this.
Exactly.
I always used to call it 5 hour hypertension because I would drink one of those and I'd just be like, oh my God, I need to run around the block.
Yeah.
What is going on?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, it's such a concentrated amount of caffeine. Like, yeah, it's only the same amount as a coffee, but you're drinking it much faster. And, I mean, like, it never really made me shaky, but neither has any really amount of caffeine, but it's too much.
Yeah.
And, oh, man, like, if you can avoid that, like, I'm even moving into, like, almost a 1 meal a day sort of situation. Like, I'm still eating 2 meals a day. That's literally my breakfast, which is usually at like 1 or 2 o'clock. Today it went until like 3 just because I couldn't get out the door to...
Is it technically... Oh, I guess it is technically still breakfast because you're breaking your fast.
Exactly.
It's just
that's
not
the
in
definition
the morning.
of your first meal is breakfast. You know, it has to be. For all you people out there, you're always having breakfast, no matter how much time you put in between meals.
Well, so does that mean every meal is breakfast? Because you're breaking the fast between... it may be that you only ate 3 hours ago, but you fasted for 3 hours. You weren't consistently eating.
You got to define how much period or how much time really defines a fast. You know, is it 3 hours? Is it 6 hours? Is it 12 hours? Kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So then, that's a really good observation. But so like normally I have that one meal and then I don't snack and then I have my last meal. And so technically both of them could be breakfasts, if 4 hours counts as a fast. But I don't count it as a fast. But
it also helps if you were to like eat bacon for every meal.
Yeah.
Because then every meal is breakfast.
Man, before these steaks got delivered here, I had a pack of bacon that I was planning on eating for dinner tonight.
You're going to eat a whole pack of bacon?
Yeah, easy. Yeah, 6 eggs in the morning and a pack of bacon at night. I eat I eat 4 days worth of eggs and bacon.
Yeah.
In one day.
Yeah, fuck that food pyramid. Doesn't know what it's talking about.
I only eat from the top. Well, maybe the top 2.
Yeah, fat and meat.
Yeah,
right in here.
Exactly. Yeah, man. I mean, like all the stuff that they're coming out with it seems like keto and intermittent fasting are just being like paired together now. Mm-hmm. Like everybody is kind of falling into that. I don't like to call it intermittent fasting because there's so many different definitions of it. But time restricted eating, because people on the ketosis diet, once they get transitioned into it or fat adapted, then they lose their hunger. Mm-hmm. Like I wasn't even hungry when I ate today after working out for an hour and a half. I wasn't even hungry.
Yeah.
But I obviously want to, keep growing and stuff like that with my progress. And I just moved on to assisted one-arm push-ups as one of my things. So
push-ups or pull-ups?
Pull-ups. Sorry.
Yeah.
Good catch. I was watching this video last night where this rock climber was talking about some of the things that he does. I think I'm losing my mic here. Sorry, everybody. Some of the things that he does, and he was talking about how you can start with an assisted one-arm pull-up, and then as you move down your arm, that's how you get more resistance. I was like,
makes a lot of sense.
Perfect. You know, like that's how I can progress now with that one thing. And dude, you should have seen this guy. He does a one-arm pull-up, and then his routine would be then he lets go and stays at 90 degrees angle for as long as he possibly can.
Holy shit, that guy is probably fucking buff, or is it like lean muscle?
He's not buff. That's the thing. Like they measured because it was him versus this bodybuilder, right? And so they were just talking about their favorite exercises and then kind of trying them out and seeing what they could do with them. And so they measured their biceps at one point, flexing, and the bodybuilder was like 19 inches around, and this other guy was 14 inches around. And so I was like, oh, I'm kind of curious, what's mine? So I grabbed my tape measure and I did it, and I'm 14. So his arms are the same size as my arms, but seeing him do that, like he's done a one-armed muscle up.
Holy
yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah, so pretty crazy. So I don't know if I really want to get there.
I think
seems like a lot of time and effort to be putting in, but like functional strength.
Yeah.
Looking good naked.
That's always good too.
Yeah,
ladies. My brother used to be in the military, and he was like all into weightlifting at the time and got pretty big. And then after he was in the military, he started doing more rock climbing and yoga, and stopped weightlifting. And he said that he was actually far stronger doing that than he ever was doing weightlifting.
Yeah, it makes sense too, because it's not just about how much weight you can push. I mean, obviously there's that aspect to it. That'd be like one end of the spectrum. But then there's also your strength and endurance.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's endurance and then there's strength endurance. So like how far you could, you can maybe do 3 reps on your max weight on like a bench press, but like, how long can you actually transition that movement? What's your range? How long can you actually go in that movement? Mm-hmm. Are you just pumping through it as fast as you can, or are you controlled and functionally able to handle that much weight? Mm-hmm. And I think that there's like a really healthy middle ground where you don't want to just grind like doing these like long marathons or ultra marathons where you're just metabolically you're just really aging yourself. I think really what it comes down to. Obviously you should be able to run fast and be able to run for long distances if you need to, but it shouldn't necessarily be your training, I guess. And then on the reverse side, you might get bulkier and bigger by doing really, really heavy weights. But then you get, did you ever see that Ronnie Coleman documentary on Netflix?
No.
It's that bodybuilder who was Mr. Olympiad like 8 years in a row. And he was a cop at the same time too. So like full-time police officer, working out in the gym and competing with the rest of the world and winning at bodybuilding. But now he's pushed himself through the pain so much that he has irreparable injuries and can't walk without crutches. And but he's still in the gym every day. And it's like, you might get really big, but you're gonna almost be trapped in your body at some point.
Yeah.
Like loss of flexibility, and I mean, I could never.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's where the term muscle bound comes from.
Exactly.
Is like, you might be buff as hell, but you also can't wipe your ass without assistance.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
All right, I need to figure out what's going on with this thing and get it.
Yeah, it keeps falling down.
Sorry, everybody.
It's all right. It's our first time, so there's bound to be some complications.
We're gonna have some hiccups.
Yeah. Well, next time maybe we'll have some better mics going on rather than trying to use our headphone mics.
Well, I have a feeling that as we become more consistent and regular with this, then obviously, some people will find us and want to hear more. And this is probably going to be those ones that you did not hear this podcast from us as your first podcast from us. It's going to be like, you're going to go back to the beginning at some point if you become fans, of what we have to say.
Yeah. And I would love for us to do this, once a week if we can.
Yeah, I think we should.
It would be great.
Once a week is a perfect interval.
And luckily, as I'm sure you guys will find out, well, as I'm going to tell you right now, I actually am working on a website, an alternative media website with my friend Johnny Adams, aka Johnny Rocket, who had the Johnny Rocket podcast, Johnny Rocket Launchpad podcast, and now he's sort of relaunched it, no pun intended, as the Blast Off with Johnny Rocket.
That's cool. I like that.
And it's a great podcast. You got to check it out. He has got so much personality. The show is really entertaining. They get all sorts of cool guests. But I became friends with him after he invited me on his show to talk about my brewery, and then we just sort of hit it off and talked more. And then he was kind of wanting to evolve his podcast and his production. So after a few weeks of talking about it, we decided to kind of reformulate and relaunch his podcast, and also open up a platform to bring in other creators who want to get their podcast off the ground, and we'll all work together to help solve, technical or marketing or production problems, and also be able to cross-promote one another.
Yeah.
So it itself is a launch pad for content creators, and hence why the name of the media network is the Launchpad Media.
I like it.
Yeah.
And that's the way to do it too. I mean, like, all the podcasts that I've discovered recently have been because of references from other podcasts.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how you start getting a fan base going, or just listeners.
Yeah. So I'm confident that you'll end up finding this on the launchpadmedia.com.
Perfect.
And on their RSS feed and everything, podcast feed. So, yeah.
Now here's a question: are we going to do every single one of these with a 360 camera?
I think there's going to be a fair amount of experimenting, but I think that adding that element into it is going to be really cool, because it almost gives the viewer the ability to feel like they're sitting with us and joining in the conversation.
Around the campfire.
Exactly, or the LED light.
Exactly.
And, we'll be in other really awesome locations as we have the ability to. We'll probably end up shooting more during the daytime, since I don't know how this is going to turn out. But hopefully you can see the lights over here. It's beautiful, actually, with all the boats and the is that a house or a boat right there with all the neon lights?
I think it's a house.
Okay, because some of the boats that come through during the boat parade look like that.
Yeah, totally.
It's insane.
I wonder if they can see that without me blocking it. But if you can see it, I do think that it is a house, though, because I haven't seen it move.
Yeah.
And you see how there's like lit up stairs down the side, like coming down the dock, maybe?
Oh, yeah, that's definitely the house.
God damn, they really went all out on that one.
Yeah, they did.
I've never seen it like that before, like in previous years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a boat down at the end of the harbor here that I saw when me and my girlfriend were driving up PCH last week, and she was driving, but she was like, "What the hell is that?" And I'm like, "That's a boat." She's like, "There's no way that's a boat." This thing had a Ferris wheel and a carousel on it, all completely covered in lights.
On the boat?
On the boat.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So we'll probably see that later. Maybe we can manage to, once we're done, because we're probably only going to be recording for another half hour. So maybe once we're done, we can set up the 360 cam and end this podcast with a video of the boats going by.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
One thing that I just realized, that we haven't even introduced ourselves.
They don't need to know who we are.
Okay.
No, all right.
I don't even know.
How about this? Well, let's introduce each other.
Okay.
And we'll just give like a quick little background on each other. This will be like more fun than us introducing ourselves.
Yeah, I like that. It'll
right.
also be like a little psychological test.
Okay.
I don't know. Are we doing last names? I don't know if we should do last names.
It's fine. I don't care.
Okay. So everybody, this is Alexander Meyer.
Hello.
Designer extraordinaire and creative. And we first met back in 2010, and
when I was
hired
your boss.
me. Yeah, exactly. Would never let me forget that.
Why would I?
So art director for
a high visibility workwear apparel company.
Yep.
That shall not be named.
Yeah. But was it was fun to work for.
Yeah, it was a good time.
I really enjoyed working with you, and
I loved working with you.
I'm really looking forward to again.
Yeah,
soon.
yeah. So we're actually little side tangent. I do a lot of freelance graphic design, web development, and brand development. And while I'm launching my brewery, and this is kind of a long process. So I've started to rebuild my own losing my train of thought. Starting to rebuild my own design company, and so Zach is going to be coming on board, and we're going to be tag teaming a lot of projects, and some projects are going to be. Holy shit! What was that?
Yeah, it sounds like a sports car or something.
Backfire.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to be developing some of our own products,
and
we're also going to be working with clients that we bring on. So we're going to end up working together again very soon.
Definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too.
Awesome.
So this is Zachary Duggan West.
Hello.
AKA Zach, Z-A-K.
AKA Alexander.
And total like-minded individual, very curious about every aspect of existence, very much an autodidact like myself, and I think that's why he and I hit it off so quickly because our ability to dive into the most obscure and esoteric topics that the average person may have heard one or two things of. He and I were just like, oh, have you heard this? Oh, hell yeah. And we just keep digging until like we find fucking bedrock.
Yeah.
And
I think the important thing to say, another tangent, is that we do it because it's entertaining and it's a really fun critical thinking mental exercise to be able to hold an idea in your head without accepting it, but to be able to tear it apart.
That's exactly what our good friend Aristotle,
put it right there.
Yeah, Aristotle said was it's the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain an idea without accepting it.
Yeah, not that we're educated, but I think it's a good thing to be able to do.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, we both have our crazy passions that we like to get into. Like, I'm completely self-taught on web development. I'm self-taught on brewing beer. I recently got into 3D printing and 3D modeling. I am a huge economics and philosophy geek. So, I'm constantly learning and exploring, and you are very much the same way.
Yeah.
And it's really rare to be able to find somebody who, like, just you get along with and click on such a level. Like, I can honestly say you're one of my best friends, and
Same here, man.
And I can say without a doubt that I fucking love you, man.
Yeah, I love you too, buddy. We should call it the Best Friends Podcast.
Oh.
Best friends!
Adding best friends to the list.
Actually, I think that might be the winner so
Best
far.
Fiends.
Best Fiends, I like that. Is it?
Yeah, it's a game.
Oh, okay. Speaking of games, can't really talk about it yet, though.
What? Oh, yeah,
our games.
Yeah. So one of the things, the side projects that we're going to be launching is our very own card game.
Yeah.
But we'll touch on that on another podcast.
Yep.
But
it's on a need-to-know basis.
I think. Do you think that's ample for introductions?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't need to go too far into our biographies.
No, they'll find out that stuff as it comes up later on down the
given
road.
it's Christmas, and I was just telling you about one of my new things I've been teaching myself, I made you something.
What?
Yes.
Get out of here.
You ready?
Oh, man.
All right. Here you go.
Let's see. Oh, man. Is this a little puzzle?
It is a 3D
dude.
printed. You want to hold it up so
That's
the camera
cool.
can
Oh, yeah,
see?
of course. Look at that.
It is a 3D printed cube puzzle.
That is so
And
cool.
it's the name of this one is the apparently impossible puzzle.
Oh, no.
It is very hard to figure out how to take it apart, and it's even harder to figure out how to put this thing back together.
And you put it together, I'm sure, after all the pieces were put. Damn, dude.
Exactly.
Yeah, this thing isn't budging so far.
Once you figure it out, it's actually pretty easy. But figuring it out for the first time, you're going to be swearing.
It looks like almost every piece is identical, but maybe not. That's like first glance kind of thing.
Yeah.
Wow, this is really cool, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not going to take the time to... I'm compelled to, at this point, is this... Okay, good, it's still recording. I'm compelled to just sit here and let you handle the rest of this.
Oh, it is. Like, I've obviously, since I made it and put it together, I actually made a larger one for my brother.
That's cool.
And I just sit there while I'm hanging out at home, and I keep playing with these puzzles that I keep printing. I've got a few different puzzles now that I've made.
Man,
they're just a lot of fun.
That's great.
So yeah, enjoy that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, I had something in mind to get you for Christmas as well, but I just don't have it yet.
Is it beer? Just kidding.
Well, I mean, I was going to give you that IPA.
Oh yeah,
but that's not. I wouldn't consider that a Christmas present.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I don't have it here.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Oh, I have to tell you about this beer that I have sitting in my fridge at home that I am waiting for an opportunity to drink.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have to do it having a conversation with somebody and recording it.
Interesting. Okay. You didn't bring it?
No, I didn't bring it because I felt like it's not a good thing to have for our first podcast.
Interesting. Like 10. Like number 10.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it'd be fun. Do it for our 10th podcast.
Yeah, and that'll motivate us
podcast
to
anniversary.
Get through the next 9.
Yeah, exactly. That'll be our goal. So I'll tell you about it. It is was actually produced by a local home brewer who I met earlier this year. And he named it the 3-Prong Attack. And it's a high ABV stout that has a significant amount of THC in it.
Interesting. That's
so
cool. 3-pronged. What's your third prong?
I think it's a coffee stout. So I think it's caffeine, alcohol, and THC.
Fuck yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna get pretty lit, and it's gonna make for a fun time and an interesting conversation. So I figure, that is podcast worthy.
That sounds good. And maybe every 10 podcasts I'll have a beer with you.
Okay, yeah. And every podcast I'll have a beer with you.
Yeah. And I'll have a glass of wine.
Yeah.
Or something.
Sure.
Or my bulletproof coffee or something.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
And then another beer I brought, which we don't have to drink now because I know you're not drinking a lot right now, but this is...
Lightsaber on there?
What? A lightsaber?
Yeah, looks like a little lightsaber.
It is... It's dark out here is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to blind the camera. Okay,
there we go.
So this is from McKellar, and it is called Tree Blood.
Tree Blood.
It is a maple stout.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this. This is another one I've been saving to record and do a review on. I thought maybe tonight, but maybe I think I'll save it at this point, unless you want to crack it open. So I'll leave it up.
Well, the thing is like, I'm already going to be, kind of working my way towards, the rest of this night really not being in ketosis, but that really doesn't matter too much to me. I mean, like, the reason I'm doing it is not because I want to make changes in my life, like right this second, but, long term.
So you can break it a little bit here and there, maybe?
Yeah, of course. Like, my mom was telling me the other day that she has a patient, and he's a bodybuilder, and he's even like in his 60s or something like that. But as a bodybuilder, he was doing ketosis probably about a year ago for the previous 4 years, and he did it 4 years straight. And he was telling her that the big thing is that you just can't cheat. And like, I don't know, I don't agree with that. I don't think that you can cheat once a week necessarily, but I think once a month, kind of thing. And as long as you don't let that, breaking of the seal let you completely get derailed and fall off the wagon, really.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, the reason why I'm doing it is like a lifestyle sort of thing, but I do still want to be able to celebrate and appreciate, all the things that are available, not just, now that Audrey might be starting to eat wheat again, like, I'm going to have a sandwich.
Oh, yeah?
Not tonight or tomorrow, but maybe next week.
What bitch are you going to make you a sandwich? Bitch, get in the kitchen, make me a sandwich.
Damn it, if only Toby was a girl.
Oh, yeah.
Although it's funny because Nima refers to him as a female like all the time.
And that's not intentional. It's he always just says she. But it's Toby.
Yeah.
What female is named Toby?
Seriously. And he never refers to human men as being she. He says it's because they don't have a she in Farsi or a he.
Oh,
Farsi.
Really?
Yeah. There's a few languages I've come across that they don't use the feminine or masculine tense, I guess, for different things, or pronouns even. Like, it's just a neutral pronoun sort of thing.
Yeah.
So they're very progressive.
Oh, yeah. They're so woke.
Yeah. Well, they're a lot farther along than we are.
Oh, sure.
They're doing so great.
Yeah. Can you tell the sarcasm?
You can't turn off the podcast right now and leave and never come back. Oh, God.
No.
Yeah, I think, if you want to, crack it open.
Let's do this. I've actually been holding on to this for about 6 months.
Oh, wow.
And I started and did not continue doing my own little beer reviews that I was posting to Steam It.
Okay.
And I was posting it to DTube, and then from there to Steam It.
Okay.
But
Steam It's that
decentralized blockchain
social network.
media. Yeah, exactly. It's really cool, actually.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that it picks up because Facebook fucking sucks.
Yeah, it does.
Facebook can suck my dick.
I was thinking it's like a nice between like Facebook and Reddit. It's almost like a hybrid. Yeah. In a way, but decentralized, which is what Reddit feels like, even though it's not. No, obviously. And it definitely has a very left-leaning sort of feel to it in the last.
Reddit does?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Now. Yeah. At
least I know
the
Reddit like purged all their user-generated porn stuff, right?
No,
they didn't.
It's still there. Yeah, They did get rid of any kind of like fat shaming subreddits.
What?
Yeah, where like you can. Yeah, they just got rid of all that. So it went over to another site called.
I just spilled actually. I have.
That's right.
I've got some napkins in my pocket.
Oh, perfect. I was gonna use this towel, but I'd rather just use some napkins real quick. Yeah, that works.
It's like spilling motor oil.
Oh yeah, yeah, because it's that stout. Man, you should have spilled the IPA.
I'm sorry.
Let me.
Next time I'll spill a lighter beer for you.
Yeah, exactly. Let me go run and grab a little bit of water real quick on a napkin. Be right back.
Oh, no, I got water right here.
Oh, perfect.
You don't need to go anywhere.
You don't need any more napkin though.
I think it should be fine.
Another towel.
Yeah, I got most of it. So.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. That way we don't have to interrupt the podcast.
Exactly. Perfect. Let me just throw it in the water.
Yeah,
just kidding. It's still here.
It's biodegradable.
It is. I mean, it's recycled, so it's probably going to break down real quick.
Yeah.
But it's the principle.
Yeah.
Principle of the matter.
Oh, interesting thing. So what this is printed out of is PLA.
PLA, okay.
And it is a biodegradable polymer made out of lactic acid.
No way.
Yep.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Where'd you find this?
PLA is the standard filament for 3D printing.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that I mean, I knew that, there was, when I was looking into it, I knew that it was P something, like there was different.
Polylactic acid.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That's so neat.
So it's actually really, really strong, and it's, in a normal conditions.
Yeah.
It's extremely strong. Yeah. But because you use heat to extrude the filament and, build whatever object it is that you're doing. Oh, you might have got it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You got it.
Nice. Wow, dude, I did not.
That happened a lot faster than I thought it would.
Well, my dad used to give me puzzles like this when I was a kid and stuff.
But what I was going to say is,
see if we can take a look at the pieces here, because they're a lot more complex than I thought. Mm-hmm. And it looks like they are identical. Yeah. Now fitting it back together, I can tell is going to be pretty tricky. It is going to be a pain. Yeah. But I'm excited for that too. I won't do it right now though. Yeah. But man, that is a really cool puzzle, dude.
Nice. I'm surprised you got it so quickly.
Well. Yeah, there's always with these kind of puzzles, there's always two pressure points that you got to kind of hit at the same time.
It's exactly right. You have to pinch it in two places, two very specific places, and then it just pops apart. But what I was going to say is PLA, because it doesn't respond well to heat, because it's built with heat. Yeah. Don't leave it in your car because that shit will just melt.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. What temperature would you say?
I'd say probably above 100 degrees. It's going to start getting malleable.
Not a lot of 3D printer stuff in Arizona.
Yeah. Well, there's so many different materials.
Oh my God, dude, this is
I haven't even. I keep going like this, and then I'm. No, not
sorry. I should have cheered you
cheers.
first.
All right, let's try this.
Oh my God, it tastes like a pancake.
Oh my, holy!
It's so fucking good, dude. And the flavors just keep it's like a waterfall of just more and more different flavors that kind of come through.
I know, it's like what was that in Willy Wonka, that it's just like it keeps changing in flavors. It's amazing. Man. So Mikkeller, if you aren't a beer person, a beer snob like myself, and you find Mikkeller, they always have these little characters on it. That's how you can. I think they can see. Yeah. So if you ever find Mikkeller in your local liquor store or grocery store, you got to try it. They make some of the best beer you will find on the market.
This is seriously almost worth, just leaving ketosis behind.
That's the hard part for me is like, I eat relatively healthy, but I don't think I'll ever be able to give up drinking beer.
Well, the thing is, you could do like literally 0 carbohydrates in your diet and then just have all of it come from beer. If you have like a beer night, I mean, how many carbohydrates are in a, I don't even know, like in a normal, probably a lot more in the stout and the maple stout for sure.
Oh, a maple stout, yeah, definitely.
Going to be more sugar.
So, I'd say your average lager, Budweiser or any of that stuff is going to have somewhere in the range of 120, 140 carbs per
like grams,
12 ounce.
Grams of carbs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whereas like, the lighter stuff like the Ultra that they, the Michelob Ultra that they market towards the people with active lifestyles are around in the 95 grams of carbs.
So that right there is like triple your daily allowance on ketosis.
Oh, really?
You're talking like 30 grams of carbs a day.
Okay.
And ideally 20.
Yeah.
They say, a lot of them say if you get less than 50.
Okay.
So you can have half a beer a day.
Go on carbs. Whatever the shit this is.
It also depends on how you handle carbs. Everybody handles carbs differently. Some people can actually stay in ketosis at like 100 and 150 grams of carbohydrates. Mm-hmm. But if you're metabolically wrecked, then you got to like kind of reset all that stuff and get things back into a good balance, hormonally and metabolically, before you can really get better. But, you want to smoke a bowl?
Yeah, pass the pee pipe. Pee pipe?
Pee pipe?
Pass the peace pipe.
The peace pipe, there you go.
Oh, I was looking at your I couldn't help but think, I'm Pickle Bick.
Hey, dude, seriously. I didn't even think about that. Pickle Bick.
It's Pickle Bick.
Hell yeah. And it's funny, too, because like I found that somewhere, like in a pocket or on my boat, randomly. I have no idea where it came from, but it was before Pickle Rick was even a thing. But I love that. This is why I love this guy. He just brings things right out of nowhere, and
I'm Pickle Bick.
Pickle Bick. Dude, I can't believe you didn't say anything sooner. That's what this podcast should be called. Pickle Bick.
Pickle Bick. All right, adding that one to the list.
And for them to understand it, they'll have to watch this first episode.
Yep.
Whew.
Smoky.
Well, I made the mistake of talking while I was like holding it in.
Yeah, so weird. I'm used to using vape pens these days. I almost never literally smoke anything. It's almost only vape, exclusively vape. And I just like it because it's like one little puff. It's all I need. The end of a long day, relaxing. Before bedtime.
It's very clean too.
Yeah, and so hitting something like this is just like, oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah. Although the vape pens can definitely do that too if you get it like on a high voltage.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you just rip it for a long time. Yeah, I've definitely made that mistake.
It's really hard to imagine what it's like in other states right now. We don't even have like medical marijuana, and it's just like I wonder if now people are, instead of selling little, bags of weed, if like people are actually crossing state lines and selling vape pens and stuff like that in other states.
Oh, dude, that would be the best thing because it's so low profile.
Exactly.
That you
can barely even smell it. When someone's smoking one.
Yeah.
It's not like a huge cloud like these, like tobacco or nicotine vape setups are and everything. But yeah, I just wonder, what it's like and how everybody else is really viewing what's going on in California and a lot of other states now, obviously. But I'm very thankful for it. I remember as a teenager just thinking like, yeah, it's never gonna happen. Like it's always gonna be illegal, even though they started talking about it back in like 2002, 2003.
Yeah, it definitely happened a lot quicker than I thought it would. And I think there were a lot of issues with the law that was the way that it was implemented, but ultimately, on the whole, it was it was the right decision.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think you should criminalize people that want to put something in their body that's not affecting anybody else but themselves.
No, of course not.
Especially something like when you have alcohol that's legal, but
that affects other people who didn't even ingest it.
Yeah.
All the time, every day.
But weed, cannabis, it's, I would say, and this is coming from somebody who's a brewer and is opening a brewery, I actually think cannabis is far safer than alcohol.
Absolutely.
And so, it's great to see that, that's the way, that's the paradigm that is starting to take over in our culture.
So the thing with alcohol is that the more you drink, the less you question your decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas marijuana, the more you smoke, the more you question your decisions.
That's actually a very good point. It's they still say, what is the term? It inhibits you in some form or fashion, but it's not like it's inhibiting you in like, oh, I'm just gonna make a split second decision to do something really fucking stupid. Yeah. It's more like it's inhibiting me by being like, oh, do I really want to do that right now? Do I really want to go to Taco Bell?
Yeah.
Oh, I've got a frozen burrito with freezer burn on it. Yeah, I think no. Yeah. That's
really
the kind of inhibition
or
that you're like,
question
it's
everything.
inhibiting me from going to Taco Bell.
Exactly. But it makes you question like everything.
Yeah.
Whereas, you do these things automatically every day, and you start to develop these habits, good or bad, or just mundane, and you never ask why. Why do I put on my right shoe first before I put on my left shoe every day?
Yeah. Or to bring it back to the whole cannabis alcohol conversation, the fact that everybody in our culture, almost everybody, uses drugs.
Sure.
Caffeine, coffee is a drug.
Sure.
Nicotine is a drug. Sugar is a drug. It affects you it manipulates your body and your mood and your energy level and all these things. But it's really more about what your society accepts. What drugs does your society accept? Sure. That's why I think it's funny because
what states of mind really your society accepts.
So I have a daughter and she goes through those classes and lessons at school about stay away from drugs, which I think is generally a good
sure. You don't want to tell them like
they're like, oh, just go and do whatever, go be a fucking heathen.
Although for some people it might like deter them if you allowed it.
Oh well, there is something to be said about
rebellion
there's an actual term for it, but it escapes me. The like prohibition effect or something like that. And when you do prohibit things, then you actually create sort of a subculture of people that go overboard with it.
Yep.
Whereas if you just sort of allow it, then there's no reason to rebel, and you'd be like, oh, well, I'm gonna actually think about this thing more objectively than being like, oh, it's it's not what I'm supposed to do.
Exactly.
Oh, and this reminds me, there's like I can't remember where it is, but I heard a story about this culture that they openly in their culture use hallucinogens at a certain age. It's like kind of like a
rite of passage.
It's not only a rite of passage, but it's kind of a ritual for you to kind of recenter and kind of holy shit. Sorry. See that thing? So sorry, I'm going to try not to get too derailed by that monstrosity.
Like the entire ride of It's a Small World.
Yeah, totally.
Piled onto a boat.
Yep.
Lights.
But so it's saying this culture they use hallucinogens. Hopefully you can hear us over this.
Hopefully
this boat right
because
here.
Of this.
Yeah.
The block.
And because it's open and accepted in their culture, they have zero problems with underage members of their society abusing it or even using it. Basically, there's almost no instances of children or minors using this substance
it's probably addressed
before
in a
the
very
age.
respectable way.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's something that we would see actually if we were to lower the alcohol consumption age, which 21 is arbitrarily too high.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, I came from a very German family, and beer was always around, but I don't say it was ever abused. And I remember from an early age of being like 10 years old, if I wanted, my dad would pour me a little skosh of beer, and
sure.
And
I thought that was
cool.
A little bit of wine, or some sips from my parents.
Exactly. So, and I think that having a culture, and particularly a legal framework that doesn't villainize you for drinking something underage, it can actually be. It kind of takes away that the intrigue that makes people binge. Yeah. I think they've actually even shown studies have shown that there is shooting flames. Yes.
Seriously?
Uh-huh. That countries that lower the legal drinking age to 18, and maybe even younger. Yeah. That what you see is. There is far less binge drinking. That the culture is more about drinking as it enhances the situation as opposed to being the purpose of the situation.
Sure, yeah. Right? Because American parties are all about. You don't have a party without alcohol.
Yeah.
Everybody gets upset if it's a dry wedding.
Yeah. A party's a party, and I would expect alcohol to be there too. But I think. Ultimately, what it comes down to is just finding that sort of praxeological set of incentives that make consuming it a responsible thing.
Sure.
I think a culture of abusing substances or a culture of being responsible with substances can emerge out of different incentive structures. Right?
Sure.
And right now, unfortunately, we have incentive structures that result in people abusing things more than they would if it was just accepted.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, think about it. Like we don't really pose the topic in that sort of from that perspective where. Sugar is a drug. Caffeine's a drug.
Oh, and it's abused by like 90% of people.
Exactly. And abused.
Specifically.
Abused, for sure.
Yeah.
But the thing is like, okay, well, so what are any of these things doing in our bodies? It's not necessarily the actual chemical that you're ingesting. It's how all your hormones and neurotransmitters respond in terms of ingesting that chemical. Mm-hmm. So really, it's just shifts in state of mind, and obviously these things can be very intense and profound and damaging and confusing and all of the above. But if we were to really put drugs into the light that everybody is going to essentially be using drugs at some point in their life, you need to be aware of the realistic aspects of these things, both good and bad, without saying that it's just criminals and
right.
And mentally ill people, or just all sorts of different negative connotations and propaganda that have been put on these things, and then we get offered these pharmaceutical drugs to either help with whatever, and I don't think it's really helping the matter. I think it really confuses things, and it just really, we're doing more harm than good. Look at like Portugal with them making every drug legal, taking the money that they were using to fight all these drugs.
If I remember correctly, taking a fraction of what they used to enforce the laws.
I'm sure that is not even as much. Yeah.
And just into treating them. If I remember
correctly,
it's
just getting them help.
Yeah, basically what they do
is
they set up these safe houses, for lack of a better term, where an addict, yes, the actual beneficial safe spaces.
Yeah.
So an addict could come and use there and get clean needles.
Yep.
But in exchange for getting the drug of choice, they would actually have to agree to voluntarily go through treatment.
Yeah.
So they'd have to, see a counselor and, get some clinical help to ultimately wean them off of it.
And their numbers really improved.
Yeah,
as far as
drastically.
And disease spreading and all that kind of stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah. So, and on the flip side, as you were saying, with all the opiates and painkillers, now is creating a new epidemic here because of just how doctors are abusing the ability to prescribe
Absolutely.
these highly addictive compounds. And then what they do is they just pull after you're addicted to it, they pull your prescription, so you can't wean yourself off, and then you're like, fuck, I need my fix, where do I go? Oh, I'll just go get some heroin.
Exactly.
Yeah. So now we
So
have this
sad.
epidemic of like middle class, working folks that are addicted to heroin just because the lack of foresight from the medical industry.
There's some, podcasts I've been listening to lately, or maybe it's like interviews on YouTube where this guy was adamant.
Stretch my legs.
Oh, yeah, no worries. The guy was adamant that, as long as you didn't overdose and, basically as long as you didn't overdose, heroin can't kill you. Like, it's actually a much safer drug than, like, oxycodone and Vicodin and what's the other ones? Like those really scary ones. Fentanyl.
Oh yeah.
Like that's what they're starting to give to people now too. And obviously heroin is far closer to being natural and plant derived than these oxycodone, codeines, and Vicodin. Which is mostly Tylenol. I don't know why he's barking. Hopefully they can't hear that. Probably not. And the major thing that kills people is obviously neglecting their own lives, because it is still highly addictive. There's no doubt on that, and overdosing.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of the cases of overdosing result from when somebody gets off of it and then they get back on it again, and
they're hypersensitive to it.
Yeah, and so they think that they need to use the same sort of dosage that they used to.
Exactly.
And then they OD. And that can even happen with alcohol too. That's what happened with what's her name, the singer.
Oh yeah, and her Applegate. What's her name? Winehouse.
Yeah, Amy Winehouse. Yeah. It was just like a little bender after being sober.
Who was I thinking at the? Anyway, and there's even treatments that they do for opiate addiction where they'll literally put your withdrawals into like 12 hours, but then you literally cannot have any more opiates after that, like for the rest of your life, because you're so sensitive to it. It's like reset everything. Because I hear that a lot of the withdrawal from it is because your nervous system is almost like going to feel pain that isn't even there, because you've numbed the pain for so long. The pendulum swings back this way, and now you're oversensitive.
Yeah, you can feel everything.
And so this detox procedure that they do, they actually put you in a coma temporarily, like a medically induced coma, to administer this treatment, and then you wake up and you don't have any tolerance. Like your tolerance is back to being very, very low for these things. So low that it's very dangerous if you have anything, any heroin or opiates or anything like that. So interesting. Man, we really went into just like all of our conversations, we really went into just some strange.
Yeah, no, I actually didn't think in the least bit that we'd end up talking about drugs.
Yeah.
As our topic of conversation, because sometimes we'll talk about like
Speaking of drugs.
What is the, like alternative history theories and, talking about ancient civilizations or, technology, blockchain, crypto.
Civilization resets.
Yeah, that was a crazy conversation. I actually had a conversation with my daughter about that subject the other day, which we can't even begin to break to,
be another hour that we'll be
talking. Surface of that. But I think that I'm starting to train my daughter to become my own little
critical thinker.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly where I was going with that. So,
and importantly, to hold an idea in your mind and be able to experiment around with it and poke at it and stuff, but without actually saying I have to believe this or this is the truth. Because it's so hard to navigate this life without doing that. That's how we've survived, is by finding something that works and then always doing that.
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of superstitions come from too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But I think on the flip side, there's the risk, particularly nowadays, that you run with the idea of moving away from understanding objective reality to just thinking reality is subjective, and to become to have that postmodern outlook, where it's like, oh, there's no such thing as truth, and there's no such thing as objective, north, south, up, down.
Yeah. Which
male,
is like,
female.
okay, well, how does that help your life?
No, it doesn't.
How do you get anything done with that perspective?
Yeah, I've kind of come to the conclusion that those people are that really get into postmodernism. I wouldn't say it's a conclusion. I'd say it's more like a hypothesis. That it's almost like another form of virtue signaling. Virtue signaling. You're gonna be like, oh, look how virtuous I am that I support.
Super
blah. Exactly.
Forward,
I'm so woke.
Progressive. Yeah.
So I think that is it's like a cheat code for intellectualism. It's like, oh, I've read Foucault and I understood it. Nobody's ever understood Foucault. But it's like, and they want to sound intellectual and smart, but then they're basically just caught in this perpetual question everything mode, where what's the point of questioning when there is no objective truth?
Yeah.
But if you understand no, there is, the world can be objectively explained, then you're always in pursuit of something better.
Yeah.
More enlightenment, more understanding, more of your actions aligned with reality, which leads towards a happy and successful lifestyle.
Yeah.
So it's more like objectivism or objective philosophy leads towards finding meaning, and subjectivism or postmodernism leads towards nihilism.
Sure.
And just saying, oh, there's, why don't we all just kill ourselves?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's, if nothing in reality is actually real, then how do you make it better?
Yeah.
What starting point do you even have?
And the hilarious part is,
how do you structure anything?
Yeah, and that's also one of the issues that you see, that people with that mindset glom onto collectivism, whereas people that are more objective, grasp to individualism. They're because
you're always trying to make sure that your objective reality matches with other people's objective reality, and so you have to be in this kind of individual thing, but you have to compare it to other people and make sure that they're seeing what you're seeing.
And I'd say that collectivism is an abstracted thought.
Okay.
And these people are thinking so much in abstracts because there is no truth, that they're just like, oh, well, if we're all just thinking in abstracts and there's this problem that I want to solve, then I have I can use the tool of collectivism to solve this problem that I see, then I can violate anybody's rights or advocate for the violation of anybody's rights. I can support a cause because I think there's this problem, while I actually make other real world, objectively obvious victims.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you cause a lot of other problems, but, in this whole relativism thing, like, how can there be even the existence of a problem?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Like, yeah, and that you have.
I mean, problems are really only problems to yourself or people you care about.
Exactly. Maybe
those are problems.
Maybe it's not a problem if you don't care about it.
Yeah, exactly. I wish they would stop caring. Yeah. I wish all the progressive relativists, groupthink kind of things, I wish they would all just stop caring.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody really stops caring.
No, nobody does. I mean, you have to be a sociopath or a psychopath not to.
Exactly.
Truly
a very
care.
small percentage of the population that really doesn't care. Everybody cares. But
yeah. So the way that I look at it is like everybody's capable of looking at reality through the right lens, but so much of our culture has, and I would say there's a lot of factors, probably the primary ones being education, entertainment, and government, which are huge influencing factors, have just sort of created a path of least resistance for subjectivism and, for people to lead more meaningless lives.
Sure.
But there's kind of a resurgence of this yearning for objective understanding of reality
and subjective meaning.
Yeah, and we can see this with like the rise of Jordan Peterson and even Joe Rogan and all these people that are I would say starting to turn the tide of this culture of philosophical nihilism. And this thirst for meaning is there.
Well,
it's amazing to see.
It's a voice saying, no, this is actually, there are certain important things, and here's why. And this is why you've lost meaning in your life, because you've been kind of led to believe that, I think, therefore I am, but nothing else is really real. You can't really pin anything else down. And, if you really hold that thought to be true in your mind and you start acting accordingly, then, I don't know, that doesn't seem like a really good path in life.
Yeah, I'd say it's just really what it's come down to is sort of the philosophical foundations of our culture is eroded a lot to the point where, if you're building on weak foundations, then you can't build very high and you can't build anything of significance.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense.
And so,
gotta have a strong foundation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that we're in an interesting time to be alive.
Yeah,
that we're seeing, almost a clash of cultures, and we have. I think even Jordan Peterson was saying this on Joe Rogan's podcast just a couple weeks ago. That the potential. There's enormous potential in where we're at in this time and place in history. Potential for things to go horribly wrong, horribly authoritarian, or for us to reach a new level of real progress.
Yeah, I like that he said that a lot, because I listened to that one as well.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with him on that aspect. Like, there is a lot of reason to be hopeful about everything that's coming to light right now. I'm a lot more hopeful because of people like him, though, because I'm very hopeful because of how fast he's grown in popularity. And I just, the one thing that I think needs to happen now, I mean, obviously his message hasn't really changed much in the last 2 years as far as what he's stating his kind of mission is and why he's doing what he's doing. Nothing along those lines, and what he's actually saying hasn't changed much. Obviously more and more people still have, that, should, discover him. But, I've been following him now for probably 3 years, 2.5 years, something like that. ever since he was first on Joe Rogan's podcast. I've known about him, and I haven't heard much as far as like I've heard his main thing many times through many different interviews. I know a lot about. I have his book. I haven't read the whole thing yet. I know a lot about what the content is of it, and I'm all right there with him on everything that I know about. But I really liked his. I'm hoping that he comes out with more. Is his biblical lecture series where he?
Oh, that is super interesting stuff, and they, generally most people think about him as far as his pushback on regressive cultural events,
sociological or
yeah,
socialism ideas.
Yeah, but
his
lectures on biblical history and myth and
psychological aspects of it, and
archetypes, and super
compelling.
Interesting. Like, I can kind of get why that's not as popular because
it's not everybody's cup of tea.
Exactly, but
it's very long.
I really
too.
enjoy it. Yeah,
I love how he spent 2 hours in just the introduction before he even started reading anything in Genesis. Like, he spent 2 hours talking about what he was doing, and that's, man, I so appreciate how well thought out he is. He doesn't do or say anything, it seems, without having, over analyzed it and really, come to understand why he's doing that exact thing.
Yeah.
At least it seems to me.
Mm-hmm. So and I think that is it's starting to become more popular. It's definitely, there's a demand for it, and that's something that I'm hoping to foster through New Agris Beer Company. Create a platform and an actual brick and mortar location to have thoughtful conversation and presentations that we'll be sharing with you, the viewer. So I think that might be a good place to leave it. We've been going for about an hour and 20 minutes, and I really have to pee. So
sounds about right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was successful. I
awesome.
think.
I was going to choose you, but I guess we'll go for a.
I have
full
just a touch
I'll
left,
give you
so
a
it's
skosh.
Okay. I was going to say, like, it's not even bad luck if I have just a little bit left.
All right,
so.
man. Cheers. It was fun.
Cheers, you guys.
And we'll see you in the next one.
That was great, man.
Mm-hmm.
That was really great.
Oh my god, I really do have to pee.
Let's do it. I'll grab the steaks too. We can